right, welcome to episode 4. Happy Father's Day. Today's an important day for all you fathers, and this episode's going to be about sellers and how to prepare your marina to go through the sale process. And over the last 25 years or so, there have been consistent issues when we show up on a property to take a look at it and the seller's not prepared. So today, I'm going to talk through how to get ready to go through the sale process. So over the past 25 years, I think we're just a little over 3 billion in transactions, both on the sell and buy side. And when I go out to a property to look at it, I take a team and we have kind of a set of standards that we look for. The main part of the team goes with the owners and the sellers and the harbor master and the marina manager and the accounting folks, and they go tour around the property. And I traditionally go to the common areas. I go to the bathrooms, the showers, laundry facilities, locker facilities, and I'm going to get a pretty good idea just from those areas of how much pay attention to detail the seller has been experiencing prior to us showing up. So I can tell you that just on a couple of occasions over the years, it's been interesting to walk into a lodge or a hotel property and they say, "Mr. Jones, glad you're here. We have the suite all set up for you." And I go to put my luggage in and the room hasn't been cleaned. Attention to detail. I go into bathrooms, showers, locker facilities on marina properties, laundry facilities, and there's no attention to detail. It's just something that I see a lot of the time where the sellers are not really prepared. So what I'd like to do is walk through some of the things that will help you in getting prepared to sell the asset. So episode 4, we're going to talk about the sell side of this. So here we go. First off, a lot of things that we see common as we approach sellers with their property. One, their common areas aren't maintained and cleaned when we show up. Trash cans, dumpsters are full. Little details such as that send messages. Another thing that we see is these husband and wife operations, and they're traditionally husband and wife operations. They've allowed in their rent roll to have their doctor or their psychiatrist or their dentist or family members not paying any rent or reduced rent in slips. And you're not going to get credit for reduced rent in your slips because that's something that the buyer has to come in and clean up. So before you go through the sale process, you want to sit down these folks that are in these slips, whether they're in wet or dry, and get their rates up. It's going to be for a short period of time. I'm not sure how you want to vocalize the fact that you're going to go through the sale process, but I can tell you that that's one thing when we go through rent rolls and we start counting boats against the rent rolls and we look at rates. Family members, friends are all getting discounts, and you're not getting credit for that. We'll get credit for it down the road, but you're not going to get credit for it on the day of transaction. Another thing that we see a lot is in the dry storage operations, make sure that forklift is running smooth. Make sure that it's clean. Take some time and wash it. Demonstrate that you're concerned about detail. We see that a lot. Make sure your dry barn is cleaned up and spotless. Any oils or any kind of lubricants or what have you on the floors, those are things that are sending messages. Another one that is really important that we see with sellers is they underinsure their properties. So imagine that you've got 300 or 400 wet slips, a couple of hundred dry slips, and you've owned the property for 20, 30, 40 years. So what happens is, so that you garner extra cash out of the property, you start to cut expenses down in the SG&A for either payroll, healthcare, general insurance, liability insurance on the property. These are things that we see all the time, that the assets are underinsured. And that is an absolute no-no. You're not going to get credit from a buyer when you're underinsured. The buyer's going to come in and properly insure the property. So if you're planning on selling within a year or 18 months, you want to get a hold of your agent. You want to make sure you're properly insured for your docks, your dry storage operation, any excess liability, anything that you have been trying to save money to get credit for in a sale process. Go ahead and sort that out. Get it insured properly. And the insurance marketplace is difficult. It is very difficult. But that is a lever that you can pull down inside the SG&A to increase cash or decrease cash. You're increasing cash by lowering your principals and your principal payment, and you're taking on more risk. I get it. Been doing it a long time. Prior to a sale, go ahead and bring the insurance up to a standard. And if you take a higher deductible or a higher principal payment in that deductible to kind of bring the payments down, fine. That works. But we're going to find out as we go through the due diligence process if you're properly insured. Another thing that's important, all of the staff, all of them, need to be attired, either in pair of shorts that match, shirts that match, well-groomed, nice hat. There is nothing more disconcerting than to show up on a property and we're not sure who the employees are versus who the tenant is versus an outside contractor. Put shirts on them. Make them look nice. Have good hygiene. Simple things that you're going to get credit for. If you spend, a couple grand on shirts and apparel, you're going to get that back 3 times. It's a mindset that you've set, and with your staff, that will carry over to the buyer. No question whatsoever. So as you kind of go down through the SG&A and the expenses of the property, you have healthcare, you have payroll, for sure, insurance. And there's one that we pay particular attention to. So as I started this conversation with, our team goes with the managers and the owners, and they go walk around, and I kind of just do the old man thing and act like I'm lost. And I go walk around the property, and I look at the common areas, as I said, bathroom, showers, lockers, laundry facilities. And then I walk through the dry storage building, and I look for any kind of deferred maintenance. So think about racks, bunks, forklifts, anything in that building that you're not keeping up to standard. If you're not keeping it to standard, it's going to be a deduction in your value. Wet slips. See this all the time. Wet slips, you when you're walking the docks, you can get a pretty good feel as you're walking what kind of condition they're in. Now, I'm going to pull up plates. I'm going to look under things. I'm going to look at encapsulated foam. I'm going to look at fixed piers. And I'm going to find your utilities. I'm going to find the electric, pump out, water. If you've got cable TV or Wi-Fi, I'm going to find it. And I'm going to trace it back to panels. I'm going to look. And from a safety and hazard point of view, I'm going to find out if you're staying ahead of the game as I walk through the property. And these are all, if it's in great shape or good shape and it's standardized, you're going to get credit for a good dock or a good dry storage facility. If it's not, and I see problems as I'm walking around, there's going to be big deductions from value, without a question, each and every time. And we can find those by just simply management by walking around. We go, look, we go back to the original source of electric, the original source of water, and look at fittings and hoses and pipe. And if it's being maintained, then you're going to get a good credit for it. If it's not, you're going to get a good discount. It's going to be a deduction. So down inside the SG&A, these are things that we take a very close look at before we get too far into the due diligence process. We've had all kinds of issues over the years, and we found them. Big ones are, safety related, fire suppression, fire extinguishers being out of date, improperly trained employees or staff that are at a fueling facility or a ship store. Those are red flags for me and for everyone, should be. So as I'm walking through, I'm going to look at the stickers on fire suppression systems and see when they were last inspected. I'm going to do it every time, every one of them. I'm also going to talk to your staff. I'm going to pretend like I'm a banker or an insurance guy, and I'm going to spend some time understanding what they do, how they do it, and especially at fueling locations. Do you have an automatic shutoff? Are you compliant with fuel spill preventions or SPIC plans, spill prevention plans? Do you have all of the tools to clean up a spill? So as I kind of go through the property, I've got my team over here keeping the owner and the GM busy, and I'm kind of digging around to make sure that when we begin the process of negotiation and due diligence, that we have a clear understanding of how I feel about your property. Most of the time, more than 3/4 of the time, properties are excellent. They're in great shape. That's the kind of properties we like to look at. You know that I'm a storage guy and third-party rents person. I'm not going to go build a business today in the hospitality side of the ownership or the service side of owning a marina or the retail side of owning a marina. I'm an infrastructure person. So our team, as good as they are, we pretty much dig up anything that we think is a problem. I'll tell you a great story. One of the proudest things that warms my heart about this industry and what I've been doing for the last 20, 25 years is the Sellers have never really had, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, Sellers really didn't have a place to retire. In other words, there wasn't a lot of buyers out there for marinas 10 years ago, 6 years ago for that matter. And it was, they grind it out for 20, 30, 40 years, husband and wife. Family decides they don't want to continue on with the marina property. So they've got to find an exit. And that's where we come in. Some of the best moments in my time and in this industry have been watching a husband and wife team that have operated a property for so many years and ground it out finally get a big check. And we've done that 75 to 100 times over the last 15, 18, 20 years. And it's a wonderful feeling to see it, to be a part of it. And you really kind of step back and say, I am doing something good. Now, I may sell that property down the road, but that particular transaction, that couple is like, I've had all kinds of gift baskets and things sent to me over the years, and lots of hugs, lots of tears. Some people are like, well, I don't really want to get rid of this. And then they realize, I got a nice offer here. I need to take it, pay my taxes, put some money in the bank. That is an incredibly good feeling that I've experienced over the last 20 years. One in particular, there was I'm not going to mention where or whom, there was a husband and wife team that had lost their 14-year-old daughter to cancer about 3 years before I showed up. And at the same time, their 16-year-old son was having some problems with cancer. And we showed up at unannounced, kind of we find our own deals. We work with some brokers, but we traditionally kind of dig up our own. And in this one, you could see the stress on their faces. You could see that it hollows you out when you lose a child and then another child is ill. It hollows you out. So I went through the process of due diligence completely different than I normally do, because my heart was in it. and not this, but this. So it took us about 4 months. Normally it takes us 6 months to close from initial to end. It was about 180 days. And this one, I just decided, we're not getting all the lawyers and all the accountants and environmentals and all the things that you're going to do. But, when you go through the sale process, you have an environmental that's done, you have a survey that's done, you have an appraisal that's done. All these things take time. This one, I bypassed a lot of it. And it was a warm feeling, without question, when after the wire was done to the sellers, I got this phone call, and I recognized the number, but I didn't save it. And it was the seller and his wife on a speakerphone. And they said, "Mr. Jones, Mitch, thank you. It's been really good. We're right outside your office door." Okay, I'll be right outside. Took me to dinner, just the three of us, prayed with them fervently, was just brokenhearted for what they were dealing with. But the son came through it. And the son then has had kids, so they're now grandparents. And I've stayed I won't say close, but I've stayed in contact with them over the years. So let me put a wrap on this one. Selling your property. Make sure your tenancy and rent rolls are all up to speed and current markets. Because if I'm coming in to raise rates to match the marketplace, you're not getting credit for that. I am. Make sure that your uniforms or your employees are in uniform. Staff looks good, neat, well appearance. Make sure your facilities are clean. Bathrooms, showers, lockers, laundry facilities. Make sure that you have no violations with water or electric, that your facilities are up to speed. Be prepared to sell. Be prepared. And you'll find that you get more value when you do these subtle things before we show up. And I can tell you that I've seen it. There's not much that I haven't seen with this. So if you do the little things, bring your insurance up. Make sure your health care is good. Make sure your employees are properly attired. The property is in pristine shape. That when I show up, there's no overflowing trash cans or any of that sort of thing. Because these are all tickets that I'm punching in my head about how this transaction could or could not go. So that I wanted to leave with you today. I'm at 9,000 feet here in Colorado today. The hummingbirds are all around the feeders. It's kind of cool. And I want to thank you for your time. Leave a comment or a review, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And the next episode, we're going to talk about the buyer side of this. And we're going to start putting some guests on here with me because there's a lot smarter people than I am, than I think you folks out in the marketplace ought to hear from. So happy Father's Day. It's been great. Thank you a bunch.